My sisters, are you ready to hop on to the polygyny bandwagon? Bandwagon by faith. Are you happy? Do you have the faith to do that? Because I know that I'm speaking to modern sisters, those of you who know me personally, those of you who are just getting to know me. You're not necessarily raised in the East. You were not Muslim. You don't really know how these people did it over there. You don't know about, arranged marriages and how they were assigned husbands at a young age. And when they grew into it, like 12, 13 or so, they got to know who they were arranged with. And then their fathers showed them the man a little bit later on, and they had no choice. And, you know, we consider this in the West, oppressive. But here I am on a new topic called polygyny. Polygamy, meaning biblical polygamy, which is one man with many wives. And that is a righteous biblical option. Always been there. Okay, my sisters? And so I'm asking you today, I really want you to take it seriously. There is going to be opportunities coming on really quickly, really, really faster than you realize with the rise of AI, with the diminishing of marriages, with men waking up and realizing that monogamy only is a scam and they're not getting married and they're not getting on their hands and knees, they are not going to be offering you what you're looking for, right? And there's going to be bandwagons, minivans, cars with a little bit more back room for polygyny. And they're going to be men with signs saying, I'm polygynous, boldly telling you, I'm not settling for just one, I have room for more. Are you going to hop these rides and go when you need to go? Are you going to hop the trend? And it's coming. The worldly women are waking up before you, sisters. And I'm talking to you, sisters. This is Call for Wisdom. My name is Deborah. Welcome. Welcome. It's all about women who already believe in the Torah, already believe in the Bible, already believe in Jesus, Yeshua, and you want to get in to the kingdom. And see, that's the difference between us and the worldly women, right? If you go on TikTok, there's a whole bunch of worldly women talking about how they're not ready to settle. I don't need no man. I have this centered man. My life is more than just about marriage. And in a sense, they're right. It's more than just about marriage. But they think that they have a right to, on their independent self, to go their own way. Yeah, because the destination is not for them anything bigger than their years on this earth. But me and you, my sisters, if you are Yah fearing, if you believe in the Most High, if you know that there is a greater place in store for us called the Kingdom of Heaven, and if you pray every day, Our Father which is in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done. You are praying for his kingdom and you hope to get into that kingdom. And when you read about the kingdom, you're seeing that it's about eternal life. You're going to live forever with Yeshua, with Jesus who died and made the way for us to get in. And you're going to be having a new body, the resurrection of this temporary thing that gets old and wrinkled. You know, we have a hope that is beyond what the women of the world have. This is not it. And all this fuss that we're making about marriage, we are getting distracted. We are getting distracted. Now, let me just tell you a story. And if you want to read the story a little bit more, you can go to my community post, and I wrote it there too. But I spent many of my adult years in the Netherlands, and I love it in the sense that Europe has a different culture than Canada or the West or America. They like to, in the Netherlands in particular, they like bicycles, lots of bicycles. And that was the main source of transportation for me for many years. And for a lot of people there, they have cars, but they prefer bikes and the roads are small. And I got used to riding on a bicycle to go everywhere. That was my thing. We had a lot of bikes, around 7 bikes. And if I needed to go to the store, got a bike. I wanted to go to school, needed to do any kind of moving around, rain or shine, winter, spring, fall, it didn't matter. I was on a bike, and I was not the only one. Everybody was doing it. That's the way of life in the Netherlands, in Holland, and you get used to it, right? But it's not fun once you get older. As as I got older, my my affinity for bicycles was not quite the same. especially when it got cold in the fall and rainy and my fingers were freezing and I just got a flat tire. And I'm not raised in the culture there, so I had to get somebody to help me. And it's always a man you get to help you make the tire good again. You know, you need men. My sisters would think we don't need men. I sure did, just to fix the back tire. And then if my girlfriends or anybody wanted to hop a ride a little bit, you get them okay. You can squeeze your way onto my back tire and they would balance their way and you would be pumping, pumping. I would be pumping, pumping. It's really hard to travel by bike. Now, I got this mission, this vision this morning when I woke up of my life in the Netherlands and the fact that bicycles, in a way, represent women, independent women. And let's imagine a world where the women have bicycles and the men have vehicles, cars, all kinds of shapes, sizes. They got cars. We have bicycles, or we can walk, but we have bicycles. And at first, you got a lot of energy when you're growing up. You're young. You're young. You kind of learned, to get around like I did. A lot of youth in you. You can pump far. You can go far. Don't let anybody else ride your bicycle. Don't become the village bicycle. But I'm not talking about that, my sisters. I just think that let's just imagine, right, a world where the women had the bicycles, and in order for you to get through life, you can struggle alone in your fancy bicycle. Right? We're not talking about motorcycles, like the old fashioned bicycle. Struggle it alone. You can probably join a girls' club, a bicycle club, to get some company, but you're all struggling alone in the rain, through the puddles, up the hills, down the valleys. And then once in a while, some of you get kids at the back and some groceries and baggage coming along with you. And soon it looks like like a homeless community moving along in life. And that's not really how Yah intended us sisters to be. Not at all. When God made Adam, he had him busy in the fields. He gave him a commission. He was busy naming the animals and he was doing his thing. And then God said in Genesis that it's not good for man to be alone. And for that reason, he created us with a purpose of being the helpmate for Adam. So we came into this world with a mission already set for us to help Adam get through this life, to do his mission. And you know what? God had always intended for us to enter into his kingdom. And so right now we are in this world outside of the order when we're not in the vehicle of a man. So in my analogy, the men have vehicles and and we're all heading towards a destination. Now, the worldly women, they've kind of lost track of the destination. Some of them think that the mere destination for them is to get into the best possible vehicle possible, right? And just, gloat about that. So they are here at the monogamy only bus stop and they sat their asses down, some of them. And they're like, I don't want anybody else but a monogamous man to pass by and give me a ride. And so a couple of them did pass by. Yeah, especially when they were younger. And they didn't like the way the vehicle looked. They're like, oh, that's so brogado. That one there is like rusty. Ah, that's just a Ford. Oh my goodness. A Nissan? No. I want Alexa. you know, I want the best of the best. I deserve better, girl. You don't see my education and all that I went through. Can't you see my bicycle? It's better than that guy's car. So I'm not going to hop on it. And so they're really picky, the worldly women. They're like, I don't want to join this man. I know he's like a good driver and all. He passed the license and he has a car. He can shelter me from the storm. He can protect me and he can take control. And there's room in this car for kids. But I don't like the way that the car looks, right? And these are just the monogamous ones. Now, parlors for when the majority of the vehicles that are passing you by are polygynous, the ones that have minivans, the ones that have buses, the ones that have enough room to take the whole bunch of women on the road, right? Again, as Yah-fearing differences here for Yah-fearing women who are believers and Christians and you believe in the Most High, this is what the point I want to tell you today is that our goal is not to find a vehicle. not necessarily to hop a ride with a man. Our goal is to get to the destination called the kingdom. And God gives us the vehicles, the men, to help us get there. He has provided Adam for us to protect us and to get us there in an orderly manner. Because this is what he wanted for all of us. He didn't intend for us to struggle through our lives, through the mud, through the storms, unprotected, unsheltered. Every woman was supposed to be born in a car, never get out. If you were going to get out, you'd be hopping from one door, call your father's door, to the husband's door, vehicle over there. But nobody was supposed to be stranded, hanging out on the side of the road like homeless people, on struggling on bicycles, on our own willpower, independent self, trying to get to the kingdom. Some of you who are believers, and saying you're going through your single season, and you're struggling and you're struggling and you're struggling, and you're refusing to take any ride because you think that they are beneath you. You think that they have to be monogamous. You think they're not holy enough. They're not shiny enough. They're not looking so fabulous enough. And you've lost track of the destination. And my sisters, I want you to remember today that the destination is the goal. Keep your eye on the mark. I want to get all of my sisters, I'm just encouraging you all to get your life straight with the Most High. Clean up your act and get yourself into the kingdom. Now, the best way to do it is within the order and the protection and the guidelines that Yah has given. And so if I'm going to be sitting here on my bicycle and a polygynous car passes me by, stops, sees me, says, hey, she's kind of decent. Yeah, the man comes out and he has a big sign saying, I'm polygynous. And you know what? If he is number one, I should have been with my father, but let's say you're not yet. You don't have any backup. If he has the Torah as the roadmap, as the Bible as the instruction book, and he knows how to read it, understand it. He knows the destination called the kingdom. He knows how to get there, obeying the commandments of Yah and following the order of the kingdom. He is a Yah-fearing man. He obeys the laws and regulations of the road, yeah, the path to heaven. Then that is a great qualification for a ride, right? And finding yourself on a polygamous ride to the kingdom that is protected, that is led by a godly man, is going to get you there a lot better than trying to struggle your way and getting tempted on the road all alone, independent. Now, I know I've offended a lot of sisters, and that is not my goal, but it is always the side effect. Because when you speak the truth, it sets people free, but it also divides. It divides. Because Yeshua said he didn't come here to make peace like that. The word of God divides. And a lot of you are going to be sending stones and writing messages, and that's all good. Let it out. But I just encourage you to understand biblical polygyny and know that God has provided options for you that is not monogamy only. And when a man stops and offers you room on his vehicle, that offers you protection and he's going in the right direction, then all you have to do is hop on board for the short time called life here, a short season in terms of eternity. Because I plan to be going on for a whole long longer than this temporary life here. I hope to get to the city that is not built by man. My home, my destination is not my country here. I am a foreigner on this earth, and this is all temporary. I know that before I turn my eyes, I will be passing over, transitioning over, and I want to enter the gates. I want to get into the kingdom. And through the gates, for all of you that are still stuck on monogamy, just look up there at the 12 tribes, and I keep on saying it. All 12 of them were birthed through one polygynous man, all 12 tribes, Jacob, with 4 baby mamas. Okay? And that is Yah's blueprint. That was his idea. And we have to surrender and walk through it anyway. So all of you who are thinking, I don't want to go on a polygynous bus, bandwagon, all the way to the kingdom, you still got to bow down to get through the gates called polygyny, through the kingdom. You still have to accept the fact that all the 12 were born through polygyny. None of this is making sense when you say to yourself, "Oh, Father, I'm struggling. Oh, Father, I'm looking for a husband. Oh, Father, why am I getting older and nobody's interested in me?" Which is most likely not true. A lot of men have approached you, but again, you didn't want to settle, right? You're looking at the bling bling, you're looking at their finances, you're looking at their house, the temporary things of this world. You're not looking at them as the vehicles that Yah created them to be, to take you to the kingdom. Now, the worldly women, they want the man for more than what he was created to be. I don't remember reading, and just tell me right if I'm right or wrong, because I have read the Bible many times, but I don't remember reading a requirement for the husband to be your therapist, to be emotionally in touch with you, to be your best buddy. There was no requirement for him to be, your companion to go to the movies with and for you to snuggle, huggle all the time with. All these things are great, but they're not requirements for you to hop on board with him. And that's why I can understand the cultures who had that knowledge, even the ungodly cultures who had that knowledge of the purpose of marriage being far bigger and longer than the short term vision that we have as women right now. To bear children, to keep ourselves occupied until we get to the end of our life and enter into the kingdom. Busy teaching, training children to fear the Most High, busy serving, having the servant heart like Yeshua, our husbands, which is a beautiful thing, and busy letting other women in. So if you hopped on board of a religious man, he said, "Honey, I know when I caught you down the road 10 years ago, my vehicle was small and I could only fit you in. But now that I gotten the revelation of biblical polygyny," and he's telling you this, my sisters, my married sisters. The man is telling you, now that I got the revelation of biblical polygyny and we have the finances and I have the room now in my vehicle, I have expanded my vehicle. I have the room. Well, there are several sisters on the path. And I've checked out one of them over there. And I like her. I like her. I want her to join our vehicle. Can you just make some room? Can you just move over? I know you're comfortable. You've been comfortable for 10 years, but can you just move over and make some space for another sister to be off that bicycle, out of the elements, protected? Make some space for her to be loved and have a covering called a husband. Have some compassion on the fatherless children that she has born. And maybe she's a widow. Let me take her in as well. And you sisters who are married are saying, "No, no, I don't want to help them." And you think that you're going to get to the gates of heaven and knock on the door and ask Yeshua to let you in while you passed all these sisters in need. All these sisters in need with your big car, your SUV, and you had all the wealth and you had all the comfort, and you didn't care about the suffering, about the loneliness, about the women that were uncovered. And because they were uncovered and they didn't have a husband, they got banged up. They got eaten by the wolves. They got raped, raped. They got exalted. They were struggling financially. They were mentally in distress all the time, and they were on on psych drugs for that. They had their your youth taken away from them by the bitterness, by the all these trauma that they went through. That you could have had some part in healing. You could have had them in. There was enough room. You could have shared. Again, these material things, these things are just temporary. Don't tell me you can't share. You don't have enough room in your house to share. Does it all have to belong to you? You remember the book of Acts when the believers just got the revelation of the kingdom and they shared everything? Why are we so individually selfish to think that we cannot share our wealth and our husbands? We cannot share, make room, pass. We're passing by all these women. And then the men are getting the revelations. The men are saying, "Oh, biblical polygyny. Now I'm waking up. Now I'm changing. Now I am actually going to stop and consider taking on some women. And you know what? I'm going to help them. And I'm going to head towards the kingdom." And as long as they are heading towards the kingdom into the direction of the Most High, and you have the opportunity to hop on board, my sisters, go ahead and do that. Now, this analogy has its limitations. I'm not going to go further with the analogy. It's just an analogy, right? But before I end today, I want to encourage you, sisters, to think about that. Think about sharing. Think about abandoning your bicycles, your independent selves. Stop wasting your time at a bus stop waiting for the soulmate, which we'll talk about later, your one and only. There's many vehicles. There's many ways of getting to the kingdom. The goal is to get to the kingdom. Stop focusing on the vehicle. Who cares if it's rusty? As long as he has a sane mind, he's not intoxicated. The man knows where he's going. Submit yourself. Have his kids, raise his family, go to the direction before you know it, the years will go by and you're at the kingdom. And stop being like the worldly women who have these short term ideas of life and are focusing on the wrong things. So I'm going to read to you again the Torah, the Bible. And if you like it before you go, hit a like, leave a little thumbs up. You know, you don't have to put much in the comments, but everything like you say like that helps spread the message. Okay. So we're going to read in this little Bible study. One of my favorite scriptures that's so encouraging is Hebrews chapter 11, and I love it because it talks about all those who struggled before us by faith. They endured a whole bunch of hardship because they knew that the life on this earth was not the point. They knew that they did all these things by faith for a greater purpose. And my sisters, you're going to get married. You're going to hop onto the polygyny bandwagon. You know that this is not all of it. And you're going to enjoy it. Enjoy the ride. Don't make it hard. Don't try to control the man's wheel. Hold off because you might fall out of the vehicle trying to control a man's wheel. And then another man's going to run over you, right? That's how you end up bruised and banged up. Submit yourself. Sit down quietly. And by faith, you'll get to the kingdom. And that's the goal. My goal, hopefully your goal. So, okay, so we're reading again Hebrews chapter 11. I'm going to go from verse 8 and just read a little bit, okay? So by faith, Abraham, when he was called, obeyed by going out to a place which he was to receive for an inheritance. And he went out not knowing where he was going. And again, I'm telling you, my sisters, going you don't know yet, but you know the destination, eh? By faith, he lived as an alien in the land of promise, as if in a foreign land, dwelling in tents with Isaac and Jacob, fellow heirs of the same promise. For he was looking for a city which has foundations, whose architect and builder is Yah, God. My sisters, we are looking for that city. We're not concerned about this one here. I am a foreigner, an alien in this world. By faith, the mode of transportation, if I have to live through tents, if I have to just, squat here and there until I get there, under the protection of a man, because again, you're not meant to do this alone. The disciples were sent two by two. Women were put into the covering of a man, a father or your husband. But by faith, we are going to endure all these things to get to the kingdom and follow the order of the Most High, because that's the ultimate goal. By faith, even Sarah herself, verse 11, received ability to conceive even beyond the proper time of life, since she considered him faithful who had promised. You see, Sarah got pregnant in her 80s, late in life. That's supernatural. You might be covered supernaturally, weird ways. You might be coming into the kingdom through polygyny, getting yourself all the way there. It don't matter. The thing is, God works in supernatural ways. He has plans, but ultimately we have to have faith in his plans, right? Verse 12, therefore, there was born even to one man and him as good as dead, at that, as many descendants as the stars of heaven in number, and innumerable as the sand which is by the seashore. Verse 13, all these died in faith without receiving the promise, but having seen them and having welcomed them from a distance, and having confessed that they were strangers and exiles on this earth. For those who say such things make it clear that they are seeking a country of their own. My sisters, let's say it together. We are seeking a country of our own. This is where we're heading. Verse 15, and indeed, if they had been thinking of that country from which they went, they would have had opportunities to return. But as it is, they desired a better country, that is a heavenly one. Therefore, Yah is not ashamed to be called their father, for he has prepared a city for them. By faith, Abraham, when he was tested, offered up Isaac. Oh, there's just stories after stories of walking in faith. And he who had received the promise was offering up his only begotten son. Verse 18, it was he to whom it was said, in Isaac your descendants shall be called. He considered that God is able to raise people even from the dead, from which he also received him back as a type. By faith, Isaac became blessed Jacob and Esau, even regarding these things. And it continues. I just love the whole thing. Just read the whole of chapter 11, which I can, about all the people that acted and worked in faith. And my sisters, we need to do that. We need to walk in faith, not by sight, get ourselves into a kingdom, be encouraged not to be walking in fear at all about the transportation means of which we get there. We follow Deborah, the instructions of the Torah. That is good. And we hop on board of a good man, a righteous man. And sometimes they are predestined. And sometimes they are led by the Ruach to stop at your door. And sometimes your fathers arranged them, arranged marriages. That's how it is. And the goal was not to fuss about this life, just to get through it by faith, knowing that on the other side, it will all be worth it. So this is what I want to encourage you all today. Thank you for hanging out and call for wisdom again. Always a blessing to chat with you, my sisters. I know that little by little, the world will be against you, but the word of God is stronger. So wash yourself in the word and have faith.